David Kovač stood on the doorstep clutching a worn envelope, questioning every decision that led him here. The letter had found him 6 months after he returned from the border wars, forwarded through 5 different refugee agencies. Written in shaky Velthir script he'd learned during deployment but never expected to use again, it was from someone named Lyra, asking him to visit if he was able. He almost didn't come. 2 years of therapy, retraining for civilian work, building a life that didn't revolve around combat. But the letter was so carefully written, so painfully polite, that ignoring it felt wrong. He knocked. Immediate commotion inside. Then the door opened to reveal a young Velthir woman, early 20s equivalent, with those distinctive long ears marking her species and twilight-colored eyes. She looked at him and went absolutely pale. "Mother!" Her voice cracked with panic. "Mother, the human is here, the one who it's him." She backed away like David was simultaneously the most dangerous and most important thing she'd ever seen. An older Velthir woman appeared, protective, placing herself between David and the younger woman. Her ears flattened defensively. "Stay back from my daughter," she warned in accented English. David raised his hands, non-threatening. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten anyone. I received a letter from Lyra. She asked me to visit. I'm former Lieutenant David Kovač. I just wanted to." "Lyra?" The older woman's expression shifted from protective to stunned. "You're the one she wrote to. You're the soldier who..." She looked between David and her daughter with dawning understanding. The younger woman, Lyra, was trembling, tears streaming. "You came," she whispered. "I didn't think you would actually come." David felt completely lost. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Have we met before?" "Velthir Prime," Lyra said through tears. "The evacuation, you saved my life." Memory clicked into place. David's hands went numb. "Oh," he said quietly. "Oh, you were one of the kids from the building collapse. You remember." Lyra's voice broke. "You actually remember." "I remember," David confirmed. Can I come in? I think we should talk." They sat awkwardly in a living room furnished with careful attention to limited resources. Lyra's mother, Kessa, made tea with shaking hands. Lyra alternated between staring at David and looking away, overwhelmed. "I'm sorry," David said for the 3rd time. "I should have called first." "No," Kessa's voice was firm. She set down tea, sat between them, studied David with intensity. "You're really him, the one from the evacuation." "I was part of a lot of evacuations," David said carefully. "I'm not sure which." "Velthir Prime, the capital evacuation when the city fell, 2 years and 7 months ago." Lyra took a shaky breath. "Sector 7. Building collapsed during bombardment. I was trapped with my younger brother. Everyone else in my family was dead or evacuated. The structure was unstable. No one was coming back for us." David's memory solidified. He'd been part of civilian evacuation during Velthir Prime's fall, chaotic, desperate, as the homeworld crumbled under civil war and external pressure. His squad had orders to pull back, the sector deemed too dangerous. "I remember," he said quietly, 2 kids under a collapsed residential tower. My squad leader said we didn't have time, that the building could come down any second. I went in anyway." "You went in anyway," Lyra repeated, voice breaking. "You pulled me out first, then went back for my brother. The building collapsed 30 seconds after you got him clear. You carried us both to the evacuation zone, gave us your rations, stayed until the transport arrived." Tears fell freely. "You saved our lives, then you disappeared. No one could tell me your name, your unit, anything. I've been searching for 2 years." Kessa was crying quietly, ears pressed flat in overwhelming emotion. "My son died anyway. 6 months later. Disease in the refugee camps, but Lyra survived. My daughter survived because a human soldier disobeyed orders and risked his life for strangers." David felt something tight in his chest. "I'm so sorry about your son. I wish." "Don't," Kessa's voice was sharp but kind. "Don't apologize for saving her. Don't diminish what you did. Do you understand what it means? A human soldier, during a war where humans had every reason to hate us, chose to save Velthir children." "I had to," David said simply. "I couldn't watch 2 more kids die when there was a chance I could do something." "That's exactly heroism," Lyra said fiercely. "Choosing to act despite fear, despite orders, choosing to see us as people worth saving when your command said we weren't worth the risk." David shook his head. "You don't understand. I've spent 2 years in therapy processing that war. The things I saw, the things I did, I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who made one good choice in the middle of a lot of bad ones. Kessa leaned forward. Let me tell you what happened after you left. She settled back, voice taking on painful honesty. Lyra was hysterical. Kept saying, the human soldier saved us, the human soldier was kind. And her ears flattened. I was skeptical. I'd lost my home, my husband, my parents, eventually my son. I didn't believe in human kindness. I thought you'd saved her for tactical purposes or propaganda, or because you wanted something. She looked at David directly. For 2 years, I watched my daughter search for you. She learned English, networked with refugee organizations, wrote that letter through 3 translators to ensure correctness. And I kept thinking she was chasing a fantasy, that the soldier would turn out to be just another opportunist. Kessa's voice cracked. Then you knocked on our door. A human veteran who looks exhausted, who apologized for frightening us, who sits here and calls himself not a hero despite risking his life for strangers. And I realize my daughter was right. You're real, the kindness was real, and I've spent 2 years being bitter when I should have been grateful. David didn't know what to say. Lyra spoke up, steadier now. I wrote that letter because I needed you to know, needed you to understand that what you did mattered, that I'm alive because you chose to act, that I'm studying xenomedicine now because I want to help others the way you helped me. She paused. I needed to say thank you, and I needed you to know you're welcome here, always. David's throat tightened. I don't know what to say to that. Say you'll stay for dinner, Kessa suggested. Say you'll visit again. Say you'll let us thank you properly for giving me my daughter. I can do that, David managed. They talked for hours. David learned Lyra and Kessa were among few Velthir successfully integrated into Earth communities. Kessa worked as a translator for refugee services. Lyra was in medical school, one of only a handful of Velthir students in the program. David shared what he could about recovery, PTSD struggles, attempts to build civilian life. Kessa stopped him from self-censoring. Don't protect us from your pain. You've seen ours. Let us see yours. So he told them about nightmares, about guilt of surviving, about therapy processing moral injury, the gap between who he wanted to be and what he had to do. The evacuation where I found you was one of the good days, he said quietly. There were bad days too, days I couldn't save anyone, days where I made impossible choices. I'm glad I saved you, Lyra, but I need you to understand, I'm not the person you've built up. Yes, you are, Lyra said firmly. You're exactly who I remember. Someone who tried despite impossible odds. Someone who chose to help when it would have been easier not to. Over the following months, David became a regular visitor. He helped Lyra with medical studies. His combat medic training proved useful. Kessa taught him Velthir cooking, surprisingly similar to Eastern European cuisine. They celebrated both species' holidays, creating hybrid traditions. One evening, Lyra showed him her medical school application essay about the moment a human soldier pulled her from rubble and changed her understanding of helping others. You can't submit that, David protested. It makes me sound like you are, Lyra interrupted. Like someone who chooses to help, like someone worth emulating. That's the point. Kessa added from the kitchen, my daughter is stubborn. She gets it from me. You might as well, except you've been adopted into this family. David felt something loosen in his chest. He'd spent 2 years processing the war alone, carrying the weight of choices, wondering if anything mattered. Now he sat in a refugee home, helping a Velthir woman study medicine, being adopted into an alien family because he made one good choice in a terrible war. Thank you, he said, for the letter, for inviting me, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for coming, Lyra replied. For not ignoring the letter, for being brave enough to face what you did. For saving my daughter, Kessa added softly, for giving her a future, for showing us that even in darkness, people can still choose kindness. They sat together as evening fell. Human and Velthir, veteran and survivor, found family built on one moment of choice that rippled forward through time. The panic at the door had transformed into recognition, gratitude, and the beginning of healing that comes from being witnessed by the people your choices affected. David saved Lyra's life 2 years ago. Now, in their own way, they were saving his, showing him that his choices mattered, that heroism doesn't require perfection, and that family can be found in the most unexpected places. The human who entered the house was no longer a frightening stranger, but part of their story